there's 3 tests generally, which I love telling people about this. If you want to hear like a 2-minute spiel about it.
Yes, fire off. That was going to be my next question.
There's 3 tests they generally ask you to do. First of all, they're going to ask you to, if you've been drinking, are you coming from a bar? When was your last drink? What have you eaten? They're going to ask damaging questions you probably don't want to answer. You probably want to tell them if you have been drinking. You don't have to answer anything that they're asking you. If you get stopped, you only have to give them your name, date of birth, and address, which all that information is found on your driver's license. But generally speaking, when you're in that kind of social context, you want to answer. People just kind of want to answer like the stuff they're saying because, like, if I just am honest with this cop, like, it'll be better for me. And maybe it is sometimes, but whenever it turns into a DWI video, it's not very good to admit that you're drinking. And it's not very good to admit that you're coming from a bar. It's not really good to admit that, you know, you had 6 drinks 4 hours ago and your last meal was whatever time. We don't want to really admit to anything. And I'm not advocating drinking and driving, but I am advocating a fair prosecution of these cases. And that's kind of where it gets nasty when we start talking about the standardized field sobriety tests. These tests are, in my opinion, designed to fail. I mean, designed for somebody to fail, and people will fail. I used to say that the people that would pass them are active duty military and gymnasts. And I've removed gymnasts from that because of experience I've had. I have somebody that was a gymnast and still failed the standardized field sobriety test. Your horizontal gaze nystagmus, the eye test that everyone sees going like this. Right. Guess what? You're going to fail at 6 out of 6 clues. They're going to say 3 clues in each eye. And if you can't see it on the video, they're going to say, well, you really can't see it, but like I saw it. Just trust me. It's the trust me test.
Right.
And with the walk and turn, the one leg stand, those are the more ones people are familiar with, the walking down the line and walking back. And then the other one is holding yourself on one leg. The biggest problem I have with those is ever since we were kids and ever since even caveman days, we have been holding our hands out to balance. And the first thing they tell you is to keep your arms by your side. That is unnatural, and that's not how we balance as human organisms.
Pretty counterintuitive.
Yeah, and it takes away a lot. Like if you're balancing on a balance beam and you have your arms, it's a lot easier than if you have them wedged to your side. And if you raise them more than 6 inches from your side, guess what? That's a clue to intoxication.
Wow. Because you're not following the directions.
You're not following
clearly?
the directions. And they give you, and for example, on the walk and turn, they're giving you around 14 different instructions, depending on the officer, all at once. They're testing you on 8, and they tell you nothing about what they're testing you on. So if you start too soon, or if you like get out of the position while you're listening to the cop, which is a pretty natural human reaction to do that, you've already failed the test before you've even started.
Wow.
If you take one step off the line, they can say you wavered and you stepped off the line, or you didn't match your heel to toe on one step and you stepped off the line. You failed the test. One step. And with the one leg stand, it's the same thing. That's another clue, is to raise your arms more than 6 inches from your body. And they don't tell you all this stuff. I think it would be a little bit more fair if they told you what they were testing on. And here's the stuff that is going to be a problem if we see. Instead of, here's the video and this person looks pretty okay, and I'm going to turn to the jury because I've been taught that, and I'm going to tell the jury that, yes, that is indeed a clue on the standardized field sobriety test. And it's just like,
yeah,
ugh.
Sure.
Like, does this guy look, regardless of their BAC, like, does this guy look like somebody you need to take to jail? Or is it borderline? Tell him to park his car. I personally think that a lot of it is cops thinking they're going to be either their policies from their bosses, which they're scared about violating and losing their job or making it something happen. But I think what they're scared about is like, if I tell him to park his car and he gets an Uber or a taxi and he comes back later, like he's intoxicated and comes back to his car and drives and hits and kills a family of 4, I'm going to be sued and I'll make the newspaper and everything. And I don't think that would happen, but isn't that on that guy for making that decision to come back to his car intoxicated? But if he's borderline, like, getting a DWI is a nightmarish process. I mean, way different than like a possession of marijuana or I mean, a lot of other a theft or a variety of other offenses, it's a lot worse. It's worse even than low-level felonies with the amount of classes and the amount of breathalyzer in your car, the amount of check-ins with the court, the amount of times we have to go to court before we get a fair offer. Something I'm not going to tell my clients to take anything that I wouldn't take standing in their shoes. So
on the financial implications, right? So you got to hire you.
Got to hire me. Got to bond out. Got to bond your car out of car jail. Potentially pay the court a certain number of dollars a month. Potentially pay the interlock place a certain number of dollars a month. And that's before you've been convicted of anything. Sometimes they put a breathalyzer in your car, and it's kind of messed up, in my opinion. I think that if you've never been arrested for anything ever and they're accusing you of something, you shouldn't force somebody to do something before they've been convicted. But they have the right to put reasonable bond conditions, and the courts have said that putting an interlock on somebody's vehicle for after a DWI arrest is reasonable. I generally disagree unless it's multiple DWIs. Sure, you've already shown that you can get one and get accused of another. Maybe put a breathalyzer on, keep that, whatever. Make sure they're not drinking and driving anymore. But the problem is it's expensive, cumbersome, embarrassing, a pain in the ass. It's like one of the number one complaints I get is people that are arrested for a DWI, especially their first offense, they have to have a breathalyzer installed in their car. They don't understand it. And it's hard for me to even explain because I think it is a punishment.